not, before compliance, I was with these people. I was in education.
These people.
These very, very smart people. I was with them. I was in education for a number of years, and then I moved to compliance. And when they told me, you know, you're going to be in compliance, you're going to study some laws and regulations, I never thought that I would be given these modules after modules and regulations after regulations. I have to look at state laws and federal regulations a lot. So when they tell you guys that compliance is very highly regulated, it's an understatement. Because as you can see in this screen here, we are regulated by so many federal agencies, from CMS to DEA to OSHA to Inspector General to the Supreme Court, FBI. They all look at us. They all have an oversight. And any of them can shut us down or put us to jail. Oh no, it's doing its own thing. And
that's your animation. That's not the screen.
but I gave you a new one, remember? Yeah. Without any of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So hold on.
We'll have to update that.
No worries, no worries. I will not be stressed today.
Bella's just you. Bella's just you. I've got to go
It was
to
crazy. Okay, so what is compliance? It's really just us, each and every one of you guys, abiding by, starting with our policies, right? The policy of Maui Health, or even the protocols in your own units, to the laws and regulations of the state and the nation. So that's compliance. And ethics, on the other hand, is each and every one of us. When I ask you guys, are you an ethical person? What does that mean? If I tell you, are you an ethical person?
You have a set of values that you know and abide by.
There you go. Set of values that you abide by. Those values that were instilled on you when you were still little. No lying, right? Not stealing, not harming others. Believe it or not, those ethical values are still counted here when you take care of our patients. We're still telling you guys, please do not steal the assets of Maui Health. That the assets of Maui Health should only be used for patient care. Stealing is not just, you know, the chucks or the linens or the gowns. It's also time. We sometimes have to investigate some employees who are watching the clock so that they can clock out few minutes after they need to go clock out. Because that's overtime for them. That's still stealing. Or doing other, like a side job while you're still in the clock. For example, you are a teacher somewhere and you're getting paid for that. And you're a nurse here and you're doing your lesson plan during downtime. That's stealing time from Maui Health. Okay, so those values, not stealing, not harming other patients or other people, those are still the ethical standards that we are expecting for you guys to do while you're employed here at Maui Health. So compliance and ethics, they go hand in hand. In fact, recently we have changed our voice systems and all that. Every time we answer the phone, we always have to say ethics and compliance, this is sneaky, and not just compliance. So for you to be an ethical person, it's not just knowing what's right and what's wrong. This is for me. It's not just knowing what's right and what's wrong, or listening to that angel and not listening to that devil beside you, but it's this one. It's doing the right thing when no one is watching. When you're a CNA, it's that, do I turn this patient again? But man, it's almost like time for me to pass trace. But no one is watching, so I'm not going to turn this patient, and I'm just going to chart that I turn this patient every 2 hours. That's not being ethical, right? So that's ethics. And then, let's see, who is responsible for ethics and compliance here in this hospital? It's going to have to be you, each and every one of you. We are dependent on you because you are patient-facing. You're the ones who will be taking care of these patients. So we are counting on you. Okay, So what is code of conduct? Code of conduct is our moral compass. It's the compass of these organizations on how we will treat our patients, our families, and each other. So I'm not sure if you've already done it, but one of your modules will be all about code of conduct. In fact, code of conduct will be reviewed by each and everyone in this hospital every single year, and not just employees. Code of conduct is given to our contractors, to our vendors, even those construction people who you see doing construction outside, they're given a code of conduct. When I do an investigation, one of the first few things that I ask employees, have you read the code of conduct? And some employees will say, no, I don't think so. Actually, you should have read the code of conduct. Before your orientation is over, you will do an attestation. You will sign stating that you have read the code of conduct and you've understood it. And that's going to happen every single year you are with Maui Health. HIPAA is when it all started. HIPAA in 1996, it was just all about the transmission of electronic health data. Now it's massive. Like everybody in healthcare should know about privacy policies, and that's HIPAA. How do we protect our patients' confidential information, right? 90% of our investigation is about HIPAA. So privacy in regards to you taking a picture of the patient and putting it on Facebook or on other social media. You taking a picture of, let's say, each other in the unit, and at the background there's another patient. Or you taking a picture of another coworker beside a computer, and the computer is on and it's on a patient data. Those are all breach of confidentiality. Okay, and those are just like very, very simple ones. Another case of HIPAA would be you looking at your information in the electronic health system. It's just a click away. It's so very easy. And time and time and time again, we catch people looking at patients' information in the electronic health system. So if you are not part of a care team of that patient, you are not privy to look at that patient's chart. If you are passing through emergency room and you saw your neighbor in the emergency room, you can't go upstairs and start typing the patient's name and start looking at that patient information. You will be called in the compliance office. So let's see, examples of HIPAA violation. Stolen or lost tablets or phones. We give some of our providers phones, like what I have 3 phones right now, and a computer, a laptop, and if any of those devices get lost, that's a HIPAA violation. We have to report that. Malware or email hacks. Improper keeping of unsecured records. Just to let you know on email hacks, once in a while there will be an email testing you about phishing, the phishing email. It will come from a different organization asking you, oh, you know, this is an education for you to attend, click here and so forth and so on. That's usually coming from our system managers, and it's just testing you. And if you open it, you know, you're going to be reprimanded for opening it. Inappropriately sharing patients' health information, improper disposal of records. We have tons of shredder bins. Please utilize them. In fact, right now, Ernesto, who was the head of security, who was just here, they actually have an audit, and they go all over the facility, all over the hospital, looking at their trash bins to see if there are unsecured PHI that were thrown inside their trash bins, because they have to go in unsecured, in the shredder bins. Sending of unencrypted sensitive data via email. And if you don't know how to send information to a party who is not KP, please ask your manager. I'm not going to discuss that right now, but ask your manager how to encrypt emails if you are one of those who will have to send emails to other organizations. Let's see. Omnibus rule. The most important thing that you have to know is that it is a federal regulation that each and everyone is required to report when confidential information is misdirected, lost, or stolen. For example, you've seen a coworker look at a patient's record and it's an unauthorized access, you need to report it to us. It is a federal regulation. It's your responsibility to report it to compliance. What is confidential information? It's your social security numbers, business concepts, plans, clinical and financial data, demographic information of our patients. And PHI is all of these identifiable information about the patient's health. It could be present, it could be future, it could be past, and in written, electronic, or verbal. Verbal saying, for example, you are educating a family member about their medications or their discharge instruction, and it's for a different patient, that's already HIPAA violation. That's verbal. Or talking about a patient's case with somebody who is not part of the healthcare team. Okay. What is protected health information? That's the one I'm talking about. Okay, hold on. Let's see. What is personal information? So Maui Health does not only protect personal health information or protected health information of their patients. We also protect information of you, employees. So our human resources is a repository of all those information. So they also cannot divulge any of our information to other people. Your salary grade, or your date of birth, or your address cannot be divulged to anybody else outside of Maui Health. Business information, once in a while, there will be forums when the leaders will come here. They'll talk to you guys about we're losing money or we're gaining money, or we have a plan to create a parking lot. You know, all those strategies and business plans. You cannot go outside of this auditorium and start sharing it in social media, saying that, guess what, Maui Health is planning on building this 5-story parking structure. You can't do that, because that's actually a business strategy and a business plan for Maui Health. It's a proprietary information that you are not able to divulge. So what happens when a Maui Health employee looks at or shares confidential information? When they break the law, employees who violate policy will be subject to discipline up to and including termination. And this includes access to your own health records, to family health records, your friends, your neighbors, and your coworkers. So to minimize your risk, lock your computers all the time. If you're not using them, log out. Use a privacy screen. If you're in an area where people are passing by, please use a privacy screen. Secure documents and approved electronic media in locked drawers when not in use. Don't let anyone use your user ID and password. Believe it or not, we've had employees who have done this. Use designated document destruction bins to dispose of PHIs. If you discover confidential information where it shouldn't be, please report the incident. And don't use any type of paper from the workplace to use it as a scratch paper or confettis or anything else. Okay? So, did get the road for permanent? Break the glass. I go this one. And the spot, please. That slide, those slides. We have a new tool in compliance where all of employees' access to health records are evaluated. Every single day, all your access to employee health records are evaluated. We can see if you accessed a patient with the same address. We can see if you access a patient with the same last name. We can see if a patient that you've accessed is a beneficiary of yours, because we cross-reference our data with human resources. Again, that's a lot of our cases. Every single day, we probably have interview on employees that do this thing, that they access their children's information, their auntie's information. It's a very small community. People probably know other people. Please do not be tempted to access information. If you're not part of that healthcare team, again, you cannot access other patients' information.
What's the policy of accessing your own information at this facility?
You're not allowed to. Shayna, when do they sign the confidentiality agreement form?
At the end of today.
Huh? At the end of today, there is a confidentiality agreement form, and it will specifically say, I will not access my own electronic health record. I will not access my family's electronic health record, or neighbors, or friends. Again, the only people who can access electronic health records are the team members. If you need to access your own electronic health record or your family's electronic health record, go to the informatics, the health information management, or HIM, or medical records. They have a release of information. You can sign a release of information and request for your records. Good question. Yes, sir.
Do we have here kp.org where you can access?
Yes, very good point. There is another avenue. If you don't want to go to medical records and access and request for your records, if you're a Kaiser member, you can actually go to kaiser.org, or there's a Kaiser portal, and you can create your own username and password, and your medical information will be there. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. So what is fraud? Fraud occurs when someone misrepresents the truth to get a benefit or advantage. So what's very common fraud during the COVID season is let's say a community member or a patient comes to us and gives us the wrong identity. We had a case several months ago when this patient assumed 5 different identities for a reason of, one, getting medical care, right? Maybe the patient didn't have insurance and wanted to get medical care, one. Number 2, when they're drug seeking. So of course, when they come to the hospital and they're in pain, we give them drugs, and then a day later, they're gonna come again, they're in pain again, they want to get more prescriptions for drugs. So what they're doing is like they're assuming different identities.